How would you like to know kind of the number one hack for health? Literally all of health. Neurological, physical, and emotional. You know what the number one hack is? Sleep. We have seen 100% in our case histories on children suffering with ADHD, autism, anxiety, parents suffering with gut digestion issues, just overwhelm, if you will, that sleep is always connected to every single case that we've had in our office. Now remember, we are running a neurologically based chiropractic office. So it's kind of common sense, it's easy to understand that your nervous system controls sleep. I mean, your nervous system basically controls all your emotions, all your processing, all your thinking. So if that system, your nervous system, has some disruption in it, it just kind of makes sense that sleep is going to show up as a common symptom. Now, we know that sleep is ultimately regulated in the upper neck. So it's the very, very top of our spine, right where the brain stem is in our head. It's a number one link to these challenges. Now, we also see other challenges in that exact same area. Gut issues, very, very, very common. Weakened immune system, also connected to that same area. Any neurological challenges I mentioned earlier, the anxiety, the ADHD, even autism, all of these cases are connected neurologically to that upper neck or the brain stem. We want to know that we can help you heal neurologically, which helps your body heal functionally. Now, this includes everything from better cognition, better coordination. So I have a lot of golfers I take care of, and I kind of, in a way, always take credit for their game getting better. It's not because I'm teaching them anything about golf, but we're improving their body's awareness of movement, of basically coordination, if you will. Majority of athletes today have a chiropractor on hand for performance, not just for pain or discomfort. So we want you to know that this process of healing, like everything in nature, has a sequence. It has things go in certain orders. This has to be healthy, for that has to be healthy, for this has to be healthy, all the way down the road. The number one thing that we need to make sure works well, regardless of the condition, is sleep. Sleep also needs to be, certainly when you're adolescent or adult, you need to know that you're getting that 7 to 9 hours of deep sleep and that you have been in a dream state somewhere at night. You don't have to remember your dreams, but if you know you wake up and you go, yeah, I was dreaming last night, then you know your brain is in that really what's called deep REM or delta brainwave. In this particular time, that's when our body heals. That's the majority of our healing. That's when our body restores its neurological, its physical, its emotional, and all the physiological processes that happen during the process of sleep. Now, what else happens during the process of sleep, this is always good for students, is that it takes your short-term memory into long-term memory, which at the end of the day is cognition. It's basically the ability to understand what to do next with the information you've gained from previous days forward. I tell every single mom I take care of with their babies, we're talking about a 2-day-old or a 2-month-old or 2-year-old, doesn't matter. The ultimate goal is that that child, when they're in their mid-20s, has excellent cognitive and excellent communication skills. That is the ultimate goal for every adult to find success, and no matter what walk of life they're in. And since everything goes in sequence, we're going to have that goal of that 25-year-old having full capacity, and we're going to pay attention to it at day one. We're not going to wait for a challenge to respond. We want to be proactive with all of our health, all of our potential. Anytime you approach any of these challenges through natural means, say it's diet, or say it's essential oils, or say it's even counseling, talking to a communicator, talk therapy, these are all great. Our profession absolutely loves double thumbs up to anything in that world. So you want to be paying attention to nutrition. You want to be paying attention to processed foods. You want to be paying attention to sugars. But you got to know that is not in sequence. The primary first step is neurological regulation, manifesting in improved sleep, yes, and then making sure that our food and our movement and our emotions are kind of coming alongside that. We want to go in proper sequence so that our body can really mature and develop to its full potential. So when we see a lot of children that have had birth stress, birth trauma, they did a study recently that showed that 99 out of 100, so 99% of the time, in every birth that you can imagine, from a perfectly healthy vaginal birth to a cesarean or even forceps extraction, 99% of these babies all had measurable what's called somatic dysfunction. We call it a subluxation, basically pressure on their nervous system right in the upper neck. 99 out of 100. So as much as I love humanity and how we've been created and made, that birth process is a big deal. Most authors have it as the most significant trauma that we will all go through our entire life. So grace to moms, grace to brand new babies, but we really have to pay attention to that upper neck to make sure that that neurological stress is as minimal as possible. Sometimes it could be significant. That's when we have things like torticollis, or the baby's extremely fussy, or they're a poor pooper, or they don't latch on the breast. These are things that show up immediately when there's stress on the upper neck. Now, many of you have heard of the vagus nerve. So we lovingly say what happens in Vegas doesn't stay in Vegas on this subject, because the vagus nerve regulates primarily the majority of your parasympathetic nervous system. It exits out of the upper head into roughly the top 2/3 of our colon. It also goes to our heart and lungs. So the vagus nerve is exclusively parasympathetic, and it's also a sensory nerve, which basically means it's an afferent nerve. These are the information coming from your body to your brain. And then the brain gets that data and then decides exactly how to adapt and what to do with the information. So just like in computer systems where we have like garbage in and garbage out, you've all heard of that, we also can flip that around to quality in and quality out. So if we really have a good sensory system going on with our parasympathetics, then our body can adapt and to heal. And through very gentle and specific care, we can resolve the pressure on that nervous system. Now, we also have to figure out how to find it. This video has curiosity to you. If like, my gosh, my kid is suffering from sensory deficit disorder. My kid doesn't sleep well. My kid's a poor pooper. Maybe I'm not a good sleeper, or I have anxiety issues. If this information kind of rings a bell, we need to know if that's actually what's going on with you. We use what's called the Insight Subluxation Station. Basically, it's a neurological assessment tool that's completely non-invasive. There's no discomfort at all, and it measures the direct function of your vagus nerve, your sympathetic and your parasympathetic, and also other areas of our spine through what's called a surface EMG to measure neural tone in our muscular system of the spine. This is how we can find it. And not only is that kind of exciting that we can find it this way, but since it's completely non-invasive, we can repeat this test as often as we want. There's no limitation to it. So we can measure. We can actually find out if the work that we're doing is gaining ground. I love it when I get a good report back from mom or from young kids that they're sleeping better, their anxiety is less, they're more cognitive at school, they're paying attention. But as a doctor, I really love the numbers. I love the analysis of the data to know that we're not only getting an individual's report on quality of life, but we're also getting measurements that we can understand and keep an eye on. The other thing I wanted to mention to you was that this all kind of wraps around into what we call the perfect storm. So the perfect storm is, to make it really simple, it's when you're neurologically overwhelmed. So that could be pressure on your nervous system. It's almost always connected to that in the upper neck and the vagus nerve, but it's also connected to our society. So we have so much data, we have so much stimulation coming to us every single day, especially our adolescents, our school-age kids, that it's just a little too much. And we really need a very robust, a very, let's say, able nervous system to handle all that data. If our nervous system is just on the threshold of working, but it's not really robust, then a simple thing like anxiety from school, or a test coming up, or meeting a new person, or a new opposite sex, like a girlfriend or something, these kind of things can really be quite overwhelming, and then they tank. And what's the first thing we see when that happens? Don't sleep well. So that's the beautiful thing about nature. That's the beautiful thing about our body. It gives you hints. It talks to you your entire life. All we need to do is learn the language. And the very, very first thing we want to pay attention to is our quality of sleep. We also have a condition, not only in the perfect storm, but it's called dysautonomia. And that's just a fancy word for meaning that the autonomics, or the automatic part of our nervous system, is not functioning well. That's where the vagus nerve is in, is the autonomics. And so not only is that going to be connected to gut, to heart, and to lungs, but it's also going to be connected to our body's healing. So that's going to be healing from a wound, healing from an infection, our immune system. These are all connected. So we see a lot of kids with these challenges in their 2 or 3, 4-year-olds that have chronic ear infections. Again, it's connected neurologically to the same pathway. It's just manifesting different at different times in our life. The medical system, your medical doctor, who believe me, I'm a very strong advocate, but this is not their world. They're not living in this area. They're not studying this part of the world. Will kind of tell you that they'll just grow out of it. Well, no, they won't grow out of it. They'll actually grow into it. The symptoms could change. The pooping could get better. Their sleeping could get better, but they're changing their transition. So something like the immune system could be actually more suffering now, or certainly their gut could be more suffering now. So we get a transition in symptoms as our body ages and matures, but the primary challenge, the neurological stress on the upper neck, really has to be resolved. As we go forward, the last thing I'm going to mention to you is that we have 3 responsibilities as humans. This is all the way from infancy to the end of life. It's basically how we eat, it's how we think, and it's how we move. Now, yes, these are 24/7, 365, so they're kind of a lifestyle. If we do well in that, and we know that our nervous system is regulating our body well, we're going to live a healthy and long and prosperous life. So for the nervous system, ideally, your job is not to screw it up. That could be as simple as the birth process through vacuum extraction, induction, other chemical stressors, certainly sports or adolescence, accidents, bicycle, cars, etc., poor posture. This stuff all adds up. If you need to, find an excellent chiropractor that can help you restore it, and then pay attention to your primary 3 things. Now, I'm Dr. Jim at 5 Parks Chiropractic here in Arvada, Colorado. Attached to this video, right below it, is going to be Dr. Tony Ebel out of Illinois. He's part of the PX family. He's going to talk on this exact same subject from his perspective. I'm sure you'll find it very, very helpful. He'll also mention a website that's called pxdocs.com. On that are a lot of articles and a lot of videos on exactly the subject that we're talking about today. And there's also a way to find a practitioner that does that work that we do all across the United States, even some internationally. So I want you to know that the work that we do is unique. It certainly won't be found in traditional medical settings, and it's unlikely to be found in traditional chiropractic settings also. We are neurologically based pediatric doctors that have a very, very specific approach to these kind of conditions.